fine new comic book day Wednesday. As you can see, I'm in a slightly different location. I just had a bit of a move, so I might be a little bit thrown off this week, a little bit off my game. Hopefully nothing goes wrong too much. Before we get started, as always, let me flip things over here. We do want to thank some of our friends in the comic community. Namely, at the moment, we want to thank Justin at Big Country Comics. He's got a exclusive cover coming out for us. It is Ice Cream Man number 25. I know we're liking a lot of homage covers, it seems, lately, but this one's up there with some of the best. It's a wicked cover. It's super simple. It gets the idea across. Then when you look at this, you can draw inspiration instantly. Yeah, I know where this one's from. So they've really done it again with another really good homage cover. And as always, we want to thank our good friend Ashley at 204 Comics. We talk about him enough. I feel like you guys probably all know him by now, but if not, his shop offers some really good deals. All you have to do is get 3 recurring titles from him for your pull box, and you get American cover pricing and 10% off that, off all new books, and whether they're in your pull box or off the shelf itself. And so, without further ado, let's get things rolling.
Yo, Joe! He'll fight for freedom wherever there's trouble. G.I. Joe is there. G.I. Joe, American hero. G.I. Joe is there.
Alrighty, there we are. Looks like you're you got a little bit of headband, a little bit of war paint on. You've seen some action today?
Yeah, I have decided to, in honor of the new G.I. Joe Snake Eyes movie coming out next week, I was able to track down the G.I. Joe unit at one of their special training locations, and they invited me out to come do boot camp for a couple of days. So here I am. It's been a rough day. I'm pretty wiped out.
Well, while you were at boot camp, I was actually reading their latest adventure in G.I. Joe number 284. I haven't picked up a G.I. Joe book, I don't think, ever. I think the last G.I. Joe thing I read was in a trade paperback quite a few years ago, and it was just the first, I think, 12 issues from the original Marvel run. So I don't even remember quite how those went. But I imagine if they're anything like this, then they're pretty awesome. And this story holds up. It drops you in the middle of the current arc if you're just picking this one up, which I am. But I didn't feel lost at all. They did a good job recapping, and they're doing really well with some of the new characters that they've introduced recently too, with that Sherlock and a few others. Art as well. The art's super solid. I don't know what I was expecting when I went into it. IDW's always got some pretty solid artists on their side, but this one stood out to me. It's nice and clean. It's got a nice detail. It's not over the top or anything, and I actually thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's one that I'm gonna probably be picking up a lot more regularly.
Yeah, I always like this book. You still have Larry Hama writing it, and you got Andrew Griffith doing the artwork. Larry Hama's been writing all of these since the beginning, like even the ones you were talking about there, the old Marvel ones. This is basically, even though it's IDW, they picked up where Marvel left off and have almost doubled it since. It's great. I love it. This, like you said, they have been introducing some new characters the last few issues. You got that Sherlock character a few issues ago, and today, or in this week's episode, you got Muto, who's like a former DEA type of person, and then you have Black Hat, which is kind of like a computer hacker type person. And yeah, it's a good story. This issue was a little bit of a slower one because they're kind of transitioning into a new story arc and finishing up this one and that. But yeah, it's a great series, and I think with the movie coming out, and I really do hope gets positive reviews, this movie, and doesn't suck, and it draws more attention to these books because it's great. I love G.I. Joe, or else I wouldn't dress up like this, I guess.
Yeah, and then we're gonna flip a little bit to the opposite end of the spectrum. I know G.I. Joe is always a really fun read, but this next one's a different kind of fun, I guess you would say. Uh, I love this series, and I know I say it with every other week we do as well. I love these anthology books. I love having a nice, more condensed story, and actually for this issue in particular, I was super excited for the variant. I know lots of other series have done it, like Ice Cream Man, which is actually we find out is kind of the same universe now in this, but it's these Dr. Seuss covers. Like I cannot get enough of these. This is awesome. They're wicked, and the stories in these are always pretty good. I've never had a complaint with these stories once. There's not really much to give away when it comes to these, other than just the ending, really. So it's again another issue, just another guy that's a clown, and he's sort of delving into madness, and there's actually a nice little cameo in this one, and that I don't want to spoil because that kind of surprised me. And I know each one's had a little bit thing here and there, but yeah, it's exactly their likeness, the character that they show. Their likeness is pretty smack dab, pretty smacked on there.
Yeah, I've enjoyed this book too. It just like Ice Cream Man. I enjoy this book. Uh, yeah, it's all clowns. This book was the whole series actually has been kind of more of a more depressing kind of stuff compared to like some of the weird stuff that shows up in Ice Cream Man. The same thing happens in this book too, like you said. You got W. Maxwell Prince writing, which is the guy that does the Ice Cream Man, and then you got Martin Morazzo doing some of the artwork too, and some of the writing as well too. So again, you got that whole Ice Cream Man connection. And it's basically you got a suicidal clown. I know a lot of people are kind of weakly comparing it to Joaquin Phoenix and Joker. Very sad, clown entertainer that just isn't a good clown. In fact, I think he's called Hank the Happy Clown, and every complaint he gets from a show is how sad and makes everybody feel all bummed out. So yeah, I don't want to go too much into it either because it kind of wrecks the whole thing if you talk about too much. But yeah, it's very melancholy, but it's still a good book, and I think there'll be a lot of these books keep popping up in that because people can realize when you're enjoying a book, it doesn't have to be happy or action packed. You can enjoy stuff that's kind of sad and stuff too, and I guess it's kind of like almost poetic. So
Yeah, a rainbow's got a bunch of colors, and so do comics. They've got a wide variety. They've got a wide range, and haha, I think is one of the first to really find its footing in this type of genre, and they're taking it home every time.
yeah, and I love the homage stuff too. I can never get enough homage covers. So.
Yeah, even just cover number one is an homage to just Ice Cream Man number one too.
Yeah, it's good.
Next up, we've got Ninjak. You can take point on this one.
Ninjak, yeah, Ninjak is volume 3. It's they're kind of rebooting it again from Valiant, and I never read Valiant in the '90s, or at least I never read the Ninjak stuff, and so going into this, I wasn't sure if I needed to or not, and apparently I didn't. Um, you got Jeff Parker writing, and you got Javier Polito doing the art. And I know right away a lot of people are not going to like the art in this. They feel it's too simple and not enough fast-paced action for a ninja type of thing. But I liked it. It made me think of like the old '67 Spider-Man animation stuff. And I know that sounds kind of weird in that, but it's kind of cool. But I thought it worked for this and that. And what it is basically Ninjak is it's also very very violent, and which isn't a bad thing nowadays. But it's kind of like the Jason Bourne kind of scenario. The Ninjak was a Ninja K, and he's Jason Bourne type prototype thing, and he goes off off the off the reserve type of thing, and now he's doing his own thing, and seems like all the spies in the world have been compromised, and yeah, and he's involved in it somehow. So I don't know if it'll get any better. I think it's. I think a lot of people are gonna end up passing on this right away just because of the art for one thing, and also too just because it's Valiant. So.
Yeah, I've got really nothing bad to say about it. The story was decent. And I've seen a bit of mixed reviews on the art online as well. I don't mind it. I think it's interesting. I don't see too many other books going in that direction. It's neat. It's a little distracting from the story itself because it's something so unique, and I don't mean distracting in a good way. It definitely lends to it. It gives it a very unique feeling compared to everything else out there. Um, but yeah, I mean, story wise, the story is good. I don't think there's anything too special about it. And like yourself, I don't know that it'll become anyone's weekly poll or monthly poll list or anything, but who knows? Who knows?
I agree. And that's kind of why we do this show, to bring attention to books that people might not see, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
all right, what's next?
Next, we've got Skybound #2.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we had this or the first one on our list originally, and we ended up moving it off for something else. I think that was one of the busier weeks that we had, and
Yeah,
uh,
that's true.
even reading through it, there you're getting a lot of the same thing here. Just sort of mix mash of stories, good art. All the art for each one is very solid. And I don't really have too much to say beyond that. It's kind of exactly what you expect if you've read the first one. It's more of the same.
Yeah, it is. It's by Image and Skybound X2, and like you said, it's in the next chapter in their anthology of introducing new stuff. You got three stories in there. You got a story from the Birthright universe, and you got one from the Stillwater universe. And if you're fans of either one of those series, definitely read those. They're both enjoyable. The one I was interested in, and I think most people are going to be looking for the book for, is they introduced a new character called Everyday Hero Machine Boy, and he's kind of like when I was reading it, I was getting the feel of like for something current, more like Kanto, and a combination of Astro Boy, and that's what kind of what it is. He seems like to be like this robot boy hero that wants to help out people, and it's very short intro, and then I also saw too at the end of the book. They have a solicitation for I believe in the fall they're going to have a whole new series of this. So interesting, more of a all ages character in that, but I think it could have some you know you know definitely some future interest for a lot of people. But yeah, good book overall, and again, it has that good price point. You're getting a thicker book with a thicker cardstock cover for $4.99, which is cool.
Hmm. Yeah. And this next one is actually a bit of a surprise. It's a new one from Aftershock, Beyond the Breach. And before this week, I actually hadn't heard of it at all. And that's not something I say too often because I know you and I talk about some of the books weeks in advance, and this one just totally slipped under the radar until just the other day when we were looking at stuff to do for today. Um, it's a weird book. I did not know what I was expecting going into it, but I genuinely enjoyed it. The art in it is super solid. The story is going somewhere. It's going to be a good book regardless. This is one I definitely don't want to spoil because I feel like there's no crazy twists in it, but you kind of want to get to that the end of the book without having too much said for it. It's a fun adventure if you were to just sort of take yourself on that.
Yeah, I like this book a lot. I've been looking forward to it for several weeks. I had learned about it quite a while ago, and it was good, but I forgot it was coming. So when I did see it was on the shelf this week, I was super happy to read it. Beyond the Breach, #1 by Aftershock. Again, another company that doesn't get a lot of print out there because it's just a smaller independent company, but again has good books. You got Ed Brisson writing, and then you got Damien Cucero doing the art. I thought it was awesome. Like was almost my pick a week, or maybe my tie for the pick a week until I came up to another book later on in the list. But it's awesome. It's very fast. You got a woman that's pissed off. She's scorned. She found out that her sister and her boyfriend were sleeping around on each other, and so she's blown off there, and she seems to be like taken off for a new life, and she's driving through the redwoods of California. And while she's there, she kind of gets into a car accident at the exact same time as like going through this interdimensional breach, and I kind of link it to like the beginning of Tales from the Dark Side, where everything just kind of flips and goes dark. So then when she wakes up, she's wakes up and she's still not hurt from her car accident, but there's all these crazy monsters going around, like they're all Lovecrafty and insect like, and
super neat, like super
yeah,
good drawings.
And then she comes across an orphan boy in a station wagon, so she saves him, and at the same time they come across this, but I guess maybe it's an alien, or what it kind of looks like. The character Stitch from Lilo and Stitch had a baby with Stripe from Gremlins type of thing, and he's going to be working with them, I guess. He seems to be under attack from these things too, and they all take refuge in a not a porta potty, a rest stop room,
yeah.
And it kind of ends there, and yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, that's what happens, and I think it's gonna be kind of fun. But yeah, it's kind of nuts. But yeah, amazing artwork.
Yeah, lots happens in the short time.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Next up, we've got Star Wars, as always, one of my favorites to cover during the week. This one is War of the Bounty Hunters #2. And like I was saying for the last few weeks, everyone's building up, everyone's getting to this party. Well, everyone's here. By the end of this issue, everyone's there. Things are starting to look a little bit spicy and dicey for everyone there. People are kind of like, well, why am I sitting around with this guy? Why am I not just taking him out now? And everyone's sort of just a bit on edge. But it's going to be good. And I keep saying that with every issue. And I feel like I keep prolonging it's going to be good eventually. But it's good now, too. Every story's been solid. It hasn't dropped. This one goes by pretty quick, actually. I wish when I got to the end, I wish it was a little bit longer. The cliff they leave it on just gets you that much, and you're like, well, I really wish I had seen what happened just after that. So I mean, who knows? There's every other Star Wars book is covering it, and we won't have to wait long. The next issue of Vader comes out next week, and that's kind of a nice thing. They're all tying in. You don't have to wait too long, but I wish they would be slightly longer, these War of the Bounty Hunter books.
Yeah, I'm enjoying these all still too, and we do seem to cover at least one a week. You're right. And this week is War of the Bounty Hunters #2, which is I guess the main book of the series, and everything else is kind of like a tie-in or a spin-off. You got Charles Soule still writing, and you got Luke Ross doing the art, and yeah, I enjoyed all of it. Right, and like we've been saying for the last few episodes, everyone shows up at the Crimson Dawn auction wanting to get the trophy. Well, Han Solo and the Carbonite. So there's so many parties that end up showing up there that if it wasn't for this scenario, they would have just opened up fire already. Like you got good guys, bad guys, outlaws, Imperials, Hutts. Like it's pretty much every character is represented there somehow. So yeah, it kind of, this is the issue that had brought everything all together, and the next issue is going to be, I think, like you said, where all the shit hits the fan. So
yeah. Next one up, this is another one we covered just recently, but it's the next series. This Canto 3, and same thing as we said before. The art and the storytelling in this one is solid, and I don't think enough people pick this series up. And I was one of those people. I'm glad to say that I'll be getting these more regularly, and I think it's only going to be getting more and more and more of a following. I enjoy this book, and it's a good start to the next chapter in the Canto series.
Yeah, like you said, the art's always great on this. You got Drew Zucker doing the art, and you got David M. Booker still doing the story. And these guys have been doing it since the beginning. It's their creation. Canto 3, #1, Lionhearted. and I think this is actually going to be the final arc in the story. You still got Kanto trying to gather support from former enemies and former helpers, and even the slave masters that used to control him and his tin pal friends. And they're all trying to go out against this shrouded man who's kind of like the evil lord of this universe. Yeah, so it's great. This one, compared to other number ones, this one is a little bit uh, maybe less enjoyable for someone who is newer to read it because it has a lot of history behind this part. But yeah, it's still a great series, and I think, like I said, I don't know how long this one is. I think it's another 3 or 4 issues, but I think this might be the series or the arc that where they finally confront the Shrouded Man at the end. So we'll see.
Yeah. And next one is another one that people are pretty excited for, along the same lines as some of the other indies. As another one by Aftershock, is Bunny Mask #2. And when the last one came out, everyone was super excited. I'm pretty sure those flew off the shelf of every local shop really, really quick. And I don't think I even saw them the next time I was in. But lots of people were waiting this one, and it didn't take long for the second issue to come out, that's for sure. And that seems to be the case with a lot of indies. A lot of them are getting released a couple weeks apart, if not the next week. And this series, I enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not one of my favorites, but I appreciate it for what it is. The artwork is pretty good. Story, I enjoy the story. It's just like every other indie. The stories, that's where they are. It's in the indies. It's not your big AAA Marvel and DC anymore. It's these indies, and they know what they're doing. And Bunny Mask is another solid show of what they can do when they're given their own creative freedoms.
Yeah, I agree. You got Paul Tobin writing, and you got Andrea Muti doing the art. And yeah, the art on this series so far is pretty amazing. It has like this watercolor, muted kind of feel to it, but still has a lot of detail. Uh, it's definitely a horror type book or horror suspense type book, but having those watercolor, bright colors, even when there is shadowy scenes and stuff, still it doesn't make it any less spooky in that. Um, the premise of this is you got the Bunny Mask character, which is like a zombie type spirit that has this mask on that shows up every once in a while, and it seems to avenge kids that either are about to be abused or kidnapped or something like that. And there's it starts off at one point where this guy has all these kids in a mine type of thing, digging around, and they dig out by accident the Bunny Mask, and she ends up killing this guy because he was an abuser. And there was a guy in the mine that was trapped digging with them because he was a social worker that tried to free these kids and ended up getting trapped down there too. And so that ends there. She kills him, and everything gets set free. And then it jumps forward quite a few years, and you end up seeing these people meet up again afterwards. And the little girl ends up being an artist who's now doing like all these huge art displays and that of the Bunny Mask character. And he sees this, and it kind of triggers this memory in that. Now these two are kind of hanging out in that, and now Bunny Mask is showing up again. So it's really weird, but also kind of super cool. So I like this book, and I know I'm gonna keep reading it no matter what because I like it. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another one people are gonna keep reading, even if they don't like it, is Spider-Man, and we're finally here at Sinister War #1. Uh, I like it. I like pretty much anything Spider-Man. I'm sure as most of the rest of the people do, and it's nice that it's coming towards the end of the He Who Shall Not Be Named's run. Um, but the artwork in this one's really good. I'm a big fan of Bagley. Ultimate Spider-Man is probably one of the first actual comic series not for kids that I started reading back in 2000s, and so to see him on there and the way he's drawing them, it actually just looks like aged up versions of them. So that was nice for myself to see personally. But overall, it's really cool to see everyone coming together. And I guess the same thing with bounty hunters. You know, it's all building, and everyone's all here now. You got all the different sinister teams. You got the Savage Six or some around
Yeah,
that. You got the Sinister Six, and there's I think at least one or two more other teams. I don't know if they're named. I
there,
can't remember, but there's some more B list and C list villains mixed in.
it's great. Yeah, and much like I was saying for Kanto, it was a little tougher for new readers to start off. But if you haven't been reading Spider-Man for a while, or if you gotten tired of lately, like a lot of people have, this is a good one to read because it gives you quite a fast recap on stuff on what's been going on, and yeah, it's cool. You got pretty much every bad guy you can think of in the last few years in classics as well, and having a big throwdown. And I think it looks like all the bad stuff that we've hated over the last 5 to 6 years or so is maybe going to be wiped out by the end of the story, and that's so it's good to see where it goes in that. And but I mean, even if you're just the casual Spider-Man fan, like everybody just loves an issue where Spider-Man's jumping around and fighting pretty much every supervillain he's ever encountered. So
Yeah.
that's always good too. So yeah, good book all around.
Yeah, like you said, like the last 5 6 years, it's kind of been hit and miss, and they've always alluded that they're going to be retconning brand new day, one more day, and that's one thing I'd said to you just after I had read it, just before we started here, is I wish they would just jump to the point because they've been building it up for 5 6 years, and we thought they were going to have it paid off a few months ago at the end of Sins, whatever it was there, Sins Rising, and then Sins, their
Yeah,
sequel to
yeah.
that one. And it seemed like it was going that way, and then they just kind of left it. And now it's back, but Doctor Strange and Mephisto seem to be actually doing something about it. So hopefully we get that fixed up. Because I know it could use a decent change back to a more classic type Spider Man, personally.
All right.
And
What's our final books? I know in the end that's what ended up being my favorite book of the week.
yeah, we try to save best for last every time, and that is Never Never. We've talked about a few books like this before. We've had Nottingham, we've had Once in the Future, all those books. Seven Swords, I believe, is another one, where they're just reimagining of old stories, and they're doing really well. This one was really really neat. Out of all of those, I think I've enjoyed this one almost the most. The art's on point. The story is wicked. For just one issue, I'm hooked. It's cool. It's basically Peter Pan reimagined, but same thing with Once in Future. You hear all these stories about, oh yeah, King Arthur was so great, or oh yeah, Peter Pan was so great. Well, were they really though?
Yeah, and that's kind of a theme on this. I don't know if you want to call it our podcast or whatever our show is. We like our homage covers, and we like these retelling of older things that just kind of put a new modern twist, or not a modern even, but just a totally opposite twist that totally changes it. And this book follows suit. Never, never. Um, it's from Heavy Metal magazine, but they're using this virus imprint now. Is what we figured out, and I know even when Tyler was trying to find this to read it himself, because I had one copy and it's a book that is super hard to get. So if you can find this book out there, great, because it's hard to get. Even
It's
Ashley,
scarce.
who provides us our comics, he said that he couldn't even he had bought quite a few copies and he couldn't keep them on the shelf enough to get a picture for the Instagram and that. So, no, he asked me to say that he doesn't have any more copies and he hopes people can find some out there because it's a great book. So yeah, you got Mark McCann doing the writing, and then you got Phil Buckingham doing the art, and it's great art. It's a dark retelling of Peter Pan, but this time he goes by Petros, and instead of taking young women away to Never Never Land to do positive stuff, he tricks them out there, and he ends up wanting to sacrifice them to the alligator. And this whole place is just dark and twisted, so nobody ages or dies there. But it, when you think about that, if nobody ages or dies, what are they? They're basically zombies. And that's what this is. This island's full of zombies. So
Yeah.
Peter Pan's evil. Everybody else is a zombie or reborn in that. You got all the Captain Hook characters in there and that. So it's 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 crazy. And again, that it's just a very short because it is the first book in that. And I hope other people can find it, or I hope they put out some second prints or multiple prints of it because it's a great book. It was my pick of the week.
Yeah, and if you needed any more convincing, I'll give you a quick idea of one of the scenes, and it's probably one of my favorites. And I talked to you actually about laughing at it. Was Peter Pan? They get back to their camp and they've got this beheaded head, and I'm thinking, okay, it is what it is. They're gonna put it on the wall, and then all these heads that are beheaded all start talking to each other, and it's just a wall of just
Yeah,
heads, and that none of them
yeah,
are dead or anything.
those are Hook's pirates that he's
Yeah.
captured over the years, and instead of poking in the like cut him in the head like a zombie to kill them and make them restart their life, he just chops off their body and keeps the head and torments them and makes them tell secrets and stuff like that. So yeah, that was pretty fun too. But even though this is like a dark fairy tale, this book is not for kids. Definitely not. Not even
No.
for younger readers. This is no full of swears and violence and that. So yeah, be careful who does pick this up if you can get a copy. But it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And that's it for this week. It was I wouldn't say a slower week, but I think we had a bit of a tougher time than some weeks finding what we wanted to put in here. We didn't want to do too much of what we had done previous. Don't want to be too much the same. But I think it turned out well. Like I said, there's some real gems in here. I wasn't expecting that Never Never to be so good, and that Savage Hearts, I'd kind of hoped it was going to be a little bit better than it was. I didn't mind it. I thought Barbaric did what they were doing there a little bit better.
I think we actually skipped Savage Hearts. We didn't do that
Oh,
one.
well, there we go.
Because
I see. I
because
felt like something.
I knew you didn't really care for that book, so I thought maybe you were taking a little creative moment to edit it out there. But let's cover it right now,
No, we'll
fast.
do it right now. I felt like we went a little bit quick there. Yeah, well, like I said, I feel like Barbaric did it better last week or week before, and it's by no means a bad book. I like the artwork and I like what they're going for. I wish I had read this first. I feel like I would have enjoyed it more.
Yeah, it was a good book, and I enjoyed it too. We are talking about Savage Hearts, #1 by Dark Horse. You got Aubrey Stetson writing, and you got Jed Doherty doing the art. Tyler didn't care for this book, and I think it's because he read the Barbaric one earlier, and it's no a barbarian theme book, but they're not too similar. This one here is you got a female barbarian, is who's trekking through the forest with these two other people in their party, and they're kind of comical people. And they're on a quest to find what seems to be like an evil wizard. And we find out later on the story that the evil wizard has killed her lover. And while they're walking through this forest, there is like this Labyrinth Pan kind of creature sitting up in a tree, and he's lonely and he's talking to dinosaurs and stuff like that. And he sees the female barbarian and he falls in love with her instantly and stuff. And then it kind of turns like he tricks them into letting him be the guide through the forest and stuff. And it made me laugh because this creature he acts like Pepe Le Pew. And I know that's not very social relevant nowadays and stuff, but it's kind of funny that you get this no this pan uh, fawn type of creature being so infatuated with her that he's like swarming around her like Pepe Le Pew and that. So yeah, it's going to be a fun story. And um, there's a at the end of it too. There's a small little backup story, which I guess will run throughout this series as well too. And it's about again another retelling of the Merry Men story. So I don't know if Robin Hood's going to show up in the story, but the Merry Men are in there, and it's looks like they're no, it's just starting out, but it looks like it's more than what it seems. It seems like they are doing good deeds, but it seems like it's almost like these good deeds have been set up to make them look good, type of thing. So we'll see what happens in that too. So I enjoyed this book. I know Tyler didn't, but um, I think it's only because he was comparing it too much to the other book, which is like a totally different type of read. But I thought it was a fun book.
Yeah, I think for me the one saving grace that really kept me going through it was our little Pan or weird demon forest nymph guy. He kind of reminded me something you'd see show up in an old Shakespearean play, something of like a Midsummer Night Dream or something. One of the fairies there, and I,
Yeah,
I don't
pretty
know. He
much.
he kept me pretty interested. I was laughing with some of the stuff he was saying, and she's just swatting him off. So it's a good read in that regard. I definitely was comparing it too much to Barbaric. It's that one's still fresh in my mind. It was a really solid read, that one.
Yeah, looking forward to issue 2 for that.
And now that's everything.
Yes, it is.
That's everything now. Hopefully next week will be a little bit more organized. Oh, now I'm all settled up here in my new place and won't be so thrown off. But yeah, as always, thanks everyone for coming out. We had a good time, and I know next week there's some really exciting books coming out. I know there's actually a few I can think of that I'm excited for.
Me
But
too.
if there's anything you want us to cover, shoot us a message because, like we said before, there's always recommendations that we have, Ashley has, or you guys have. We'll do it. We'll take a look. But on that note, we will see you all next week.
Peace out.